going to impact business? Let's pose that question to Vineet Agarwal. He's the Managing Director of Transport Corporation of India, joins us right now on the show. Vineet, good having you. Thanks so much for joining in. We may not have seen the end of the rise if indeed the OPEC wishes or otherwise is to be believed. Are there already visible impacts that have come into even well-managed corporations like yours, or some of the smaller corporations which will actually face a higher brunt, to my mind?
Yeah, so several things happened. Thanks for having me on. On the input side, several things are going up. Of course, fuel prices are one of the things, but there's also diesel, the lubricant prices are up, the tire prices are up, driver wages are up, toll is up, even truck chassis prices are up. So that's the impact on the input side. On the output side, of course, there are some benefits that have come in with higher purchases of CVs across the country because of lower interest rates in the past year or two. And that was part of the replacement cycle as well. Then this new axle load increase that has happened, that has helped. So all of that has sort of created a sort of an imbalance in the market where demand and supply across certain sectors have been very robust, which has led to increases in freight prices. But in some cases, it has not been that good. Also, it's been seasonal because this is typically the monsoon period where, seasonality, like from the south, mangoes start moving. So freight rates from ex-south tends to move up and so on. But company like ours is not really, we work on more on the value-added side, so we don't own many of our trucks. We own only about 15-20% of our requirements. So for us, that impact is very minimal. But I can understand that companies which have a higher fleet will certainly get hit because they're not able to pass on this increase right away.
So are you able to pass it on?
Yes, so most of our contracts have a built-in clause which has fuel as a percentage of total value, and there itself we have triggers. So let's say if the fuel prices go up by 5%, then it starts a trigger to really start asking for a rate increase. Now for us there's sometimes a lag, let's say that trigger is reached on the 20th of the month. Sometimes the customers might say do it from the 1st of next month. So there is lag sometimes, but mostly we are able to pass it on.
Is there a bigger pressure because of the currency depreciation also for you?
I'm sorry, I missed that question.
I was asking you about pressures from the currency, the rupee depreciation. Are you facing that as well in terms of cost challenges?
No, not so much. Again, as a fleet, as a percentage is not that high for us, so it doesn't impact us that much.
Interesting.
All right, just one, in terms of the overall cost for you, are you seeing that consistently, stepping up in terms of, because we're not going to, we don't have any vision of crude oil prices coming off sharply in the near term. The currency depreciation, has been taking its toll on various companies, but you said for yourself it's not that much of a challenge. But going forward into the next few quarters and by the end of the fiscal, do you see the cost significantly ballooning for yourself, or you are comfortable in terms of curtailing it?
Cost structures in India in an inflationary economy will continue to rise, be it not just all the things that we just discussed, but also people costs and other ancillary costs. So that's always going to be a challenge. For us, we've been able to counter that by continuously value adding. So not just doing the basic transport work, but doing things like warehousing or supply chain management, or even to that extent, things like shipping helps us to diversify our cost structures. So for us, that impact is not that high, but yes, it is a challenge, and I think the next 2, 3, 4 quarters, this will continue to remain a challenge for the industry as a whole.
Vineet, just two questions. One is an update and one is a hypothetical question. If if oil prices were to inch up another 10% from the current levels, which is about the midway point from where people of what people anticipate to do, so say about $90 a barrel, what kind of business impact could come in for you? And one is you have an integrated business, a lot larger a size, and therefore maybe the economies of scale much better for you. What about some of the smaller transport companies as well? How bad an impact could this be?
Right. So, I think everything depends upon how the demand structure works. If demand is high in the economy is generally doing well, a lot of things get taken care by itself. So, in today's scenario, I see demand to be quite robust across sectors. We've seen some, even the engineering sectors, and of course the consumption sector growth is quite high. So I think at least till the elections, these things are quite well taken care of. The festival season is coming up, and I'm seeing that the demand has increased even more because there's a stocking that's happening. For example, even in places like Kerala, which really missed the Onam season, we are now seeing that the demand is getting built up, not just for this festival season, but even for Christmas. So, which is quite unusual, which has not happened in the past. So the demand side equation is decent. On the supply side, of course, with now truck axle weight going up, that is more weight can be carried per truck, that should help certain types of transporters. However, with fuel prices going up in the scenario, the hypothetical question you're saying, it will have an impact on the smaller transporters because they are not able to pass on these increases right away. There is a certain amount of lag. Also, the second impact will be increasing interest rates. So when that starts to happen, we'll see demand also starts to come down a little bit. The third impact that's going to be there, which is actually neutral, is the fact that by 2020, the BS6 norms are coming for trucks, which means that there could be a lot of pre-buying that could happen before 2020, which essentially means that more capacity will get created, and hence it could help keep that cost structure under control.
Just one last question, Mr. Agarwal, before we let you go. Was there any significant impact on your business operations, particularly with respect to the floods in Kerala, and will that show up in the results that are upcoming?
No, there's no impact on business. Of course, things got pushed back a bit. We lost a little bit business at that time, but it all sort of makes up. We catch up at that point. As you understand that Kerala is more of a consumption state. It's not a production state. So deliveries to Kerala, of course, came down during that 15-day, 20-day period, but they're now coming back to normal.